So you're talking about science and the church and like separating the two? I just fundamentally don't believe that. I want to know where that came from. Because
Say that again.
Science, for me, explains God's creation.
Science, got it.
Yeah, science.
No, I never said separate. No, I said reason and revelation.
You kind of did earlier, though.
No, I never said that. I said reason and revelation are two different matrices of viewing things,
right.
And actually one can point to the other.
Okay, well for me, I'm saying science explains the world and whatnot, right? That's why I chose science as a course.
Great.
Right.
I think science proves that God is true. I think the more that we study the human genome, the more that we map DNA, the more that we understand the miraculous improbability of our existence.
We're talking about verbiage here a second ago. Let's just talk about how science doesn't prove God, it explains God, if you anything.
Fine.
Right. Semantics, right? That's what we were talking about earlier?
Okay, sure.
What I'm saying is, why does it have any room in our political discussion whatsoever?
Oh, it has a huge role in our political discussion.
Why?
You mean politics or religion or what?
Yeah, politics. Why does religion play any role in politics?
Again, I'll go back to what I said in my opening speech. Can you have a separation of morality and state?
Yes.
Okay, explain that to me. So if we're going to pass a law,
yes,
and we're going to say, do not murder, by
right.
what standard do we believe that?
By any you which please.
By
the
what?
Separation of church and state
no, I got it.
says that I can have any reason for believing that.
No.
No. You're
not,
trying
you're
to cut me
following.
off. Chill.
No, you're not. Hold on.
Chill.
You're not following. You have to tell me by what standard do you get that from.
Calm down. So what I'm saying is I can derive morality from any which way I do believe.
Oh, I agree with that. That's a problem.
Which means Christianity does not need to be the fundamental cause for morality. So I'm saying they should be separate 110%.
Okay, then what cause of morality do you think the state should ascribe to?
There's no basis for morality. Morality is what the collective believes.
Oh, it's what the collective believes.
Like a democracy.
Got it. So under that belief, was Hitler right to kill the Jews? They wanted it.
No.
Oh, but that's what the people believe?
Yeah, but there's more than just Germany out there. There's a whole damn world.
Okay, yeah, Soviet Union, they believe that we should imprison the Mensheviks.
There's more people than just Russia.
Okay, Mao China wanted to go...
There's more people than just China. What do you
Well,
not
actually,
understand
we're
about
getting
this?
up at like half of the world population at this point.
First of all, so be clear about your numbers.
Hold on, calm down, smartass. Okay, so...
You're the one who doesn't know anything.
And so, wait, hold on. If you add up China's population, Russia's population, and the population of Europe...
Which all have different beliefs.
You add up like about half of... the world population.
Which all had different beliefs. What are you talking about?
That's the problem with a lot of kids nowadays. They tend to form their opinions based on far-left media and liberal ideology without fully considering a wide range of perspectives or even critically analyzing the information they are exposed to. It's alarming how many young people today are heavily influenced by media outlets. It's very shocking, ladies and gentlemen. Social media platforms and ideologies that often promote a one-sided narrative. How sad is that? Rather than encouraging independent thought, these sources frequently present a narrow, filtered version of reality. And ultimately, many kids are observing these messages without questioning their accuracy or even motives.
Right, exactly. So at some point, do you believe murder is objectively wrong?
Yeah, because the collective says it's wrong. What do you mean?
But not in every country do they say it's wrong.
That's the few in power of each of those countries. What are you talking about?
That's not correct.
That is correct. What do you mean?
See, now you're getting a little upset.
I am, because you're objectively trying to lie to the crowd.
So, again, the collective. This is not a Star Trek episode, okay? But let me walk you through this. In Nazi Germany, the body politic wanted bad things to happen to Jews.
And most of the world said that was wrong.
Okay, but the country itself said it was okay. Most of the world right now says abortion is okay. Is most of the world right?
Yeah, probably.
Oh. By what moral standard?
By the one they've collectively agreed upon.
Can the collective ever be wrong?
Probably.
So in world history...
Why are you a man being able to say this when
in world
everyone
history,
here believes God sets the mandate?
So
why are you trying to tell me what it is?
In world history, the entire planet for 2,000 years believed slavery was okay. Was the entire world right?
No, obviously not.
Oh,
we just talked about morality being wrong by the collective occasionally.
Well, okay, I think slavery and mass murder is pretty wrong, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, so again, when the collective gets things wrong, then maybe we shouldn't appeal to the collective, because the collective has given us really evil things over the years. Instead, we should appeal to something higher than us, something greater.
Has Christianity ever led to anything evil?
Of course, you can use a shovel to dig a ditch or to murder somebody.
What I'm saying is Christianity has no merit above the collective.
Of course it does. By what?
How?
Well, first of all,
that's not the word of God, that's the word of men describing the word of God.
Okay, that's a separate issue if you want to discuss that. But I do ask the question, what faith did the founding fathers have?
Separation of church and state.
Okay, again, that actually wasn't that's not in the Constitution.
All right, those words explicitly were not in there.
Yeah, and just so we're clear, do you know where that phrase came from?
People escaping religious persecution from their home countries.
Right, so it was Thomas Jefferson's letter to the Danbury Baptist Convention guaranteeing them that the state will not come after them.
He also had slaves, so how is he inherently right? You said people make mistakes.
Of course they can, but that's not even the contention I was making. I was saying that's the origination of the term.
Imagine an America without religion, a country where the guiding principles of faith, which have shaped much of its moral and ethical framework, no longer hold sway. Just imagine. In such a society, every individual operates based on their own personal moral code, and the very foundation that has long helped to define right from wrong is fragmented into countless subjective viewpoints. Ladies and gentlemen, when we throw away God, everything turns into chaos. When we try to replace God with science or with whatever, everything turns into chaos.
John Adams famously said, the Constitution, the structure that we care about, is only compatible with a moral and religious people. When the American people are no longer moral or religious, the promise of the Constitution starts to fall apart. And again, I will kind of go back.
Semantics or. Okay. Not moral and religious, moral or religious. People can derive morality outside of religion.
Okay, again, you might come to a conclusion with a blindfold on, but that's a bad way to be able to find truth.
But you're taking your own bias into account, are you not?
So I do have to, and by the way, just so we're clear, John Adams didn't own slaves, so you should also take what he says.
I didn't say John Adams.
No, I know, I'm just saying you should take what he takes more seriously, but I do want to get down more fundamentally. In the 20th century, we saw mass murder in China, in Vietnam, in the Soviet Union, in Nazi Germany, all because they believed the collective morality is correct. Does any of that make you have pause that maybe we should appeal to something greater?
You're also describing places where they had power consolidated at the top.
Well, okay, because the people largely gave it to them, right?
Not necessarily.
Well,
you guys complained for years about a rigged election. You can't think that happened beforehand, before technology was so abundant?
Okay, again, we're now conflating like 3 separate topics.
No, you're talking about a new issue, and I'm converting to the issue with you.
So if today, let's do a hypothetical.
Okay.
If today, so actually in 1840.
Okay, that's not now.
Okay, let's even say today. If today all of a sudden there was an up or down vote and people want to bring back, let's just say indentured servitude, would the collective be wrong?
Probably, and I would speak out against that too.
By what definition of wrong are you appealing to?
My own sense of morality that's not derived from religion.
See, this is where you get this, now the final revealing. He's now revealed himself.
What reveal?
It's your opinion versus their opinion. We as Christians believe there's something above both of us that we appeal to.
And I agree with that. I don't agree with your sense of morality. Your sense of morality is a bastardized of the church word.
Okay, fair.
100%.
Not fair enough, but I'm going to go to...
Okay.
But one final thing. Wouldn't we both agree then we need objective transcendent morality to live under?
Objective cannot exist in morality. That is opinionated.
Okay, so therefore, murder cannot objectively be wrong. Child rape cannot objectively be wrong. It's just an opinion.
That is not anything what I just said.
No,
you put those examples forth.
That's actually what I said, right? Let's take child rape.
You're talking about a very deep You're talking about a very deeper issue that is a...
No, it's actually exactly where this conversation is going.
You're talking about philosophy here, which is beyond the scope of the conversation we're having. Is that not philosophy?
It's religion is a form of philosophy.
No, it's not. It's a form of religion.
So what does the word philosophy mean? The word philosophy means what?
A definition of morality.
Let's go back to Greek.
Outside of religion.
What does philosophy mean, everybody? Philos, love. Sophos, wisdom. The love of wisdom. And where do you get wisdom from? The fear of the Lord is the beginning of wisdom.
In a society without religion, everything would become acceptable to those who choose to live by their own standards, without the checks and balances provided by religious teachings that emphasize love, respect, compassion, and accountability. The understanding of right and wrong would no longer be anchored in universal principles. Just think about it. Or of the belief of a higher power or a moral giver, lawgiver. Just think about it. Instead, it would be entirely subjective, with each individual deciding what actions are justified or ethical based on their own personal feelings or desires. Can you imagine that? I know to some people, they may view this as a freedom of expression, but it will lead to moral chaos. It will lead to moral chaos, as different people could easily justify harmful behavior simply because it aligns with their own self-interest or perceived worldview. Those are the dangers.
I would argue
Christianity and philosophy
no,
are directly
absolutely
connected.
not. Absolutely not. Wisdom comes from experience. The word of God comes from the bastardization of man. Who wrote the passages in the Bible? Man.
Well, he transcribed them.
He transcribed. That's the same. Oh, sorry. That's the same thing. I'm sorry. That's my bad. I'm sorry.
By what moral standard was it wrong to swear?
I don't find it to be wrong. Personally, I think every adult here cusses, and it's not objectively wrong.
If it's not wrong, why'd you apologize?
Okay, that's fine.
No, if it's
not wrong. Are you ever going to apologize?
Well, I'm sorry, hold on, but why, if it's not, this is important, why would you, if it's not wrong, why'd you apologize for swearing? There's something in you that said this is wrong.
Because the collective of this room said it's wrong, and I try not to do.
No, they didn't. There wasn't a vote, there wasn't a scorecard, like don't vote, like don't swear, not swear.
Who clapped for Christianity?
Okay, yes.
Oh, now they're silent.
Yeah, but they
Christianity inherently has taught me throughout my youth not to swear, not to cuss.
Has that been a good thing or bad thing for humanity?
I think it's neutral. I think it makes no difference.
I think it's a good thing we teach people to restrain their tongues. I think it's a good thing for self-control. I think it's a good thing that we teach that your words really matter and that you shouldn't just say whatever you want to say whenever you want to say it. And the fact
I agree with that.
Well, hold on. The fact you interrupted yourself shows that actually the Christian inheritance without you knowing it creates better actions. Because it creates better behavior.
Yeah, I've also seen Christians do the worst shit I've ever seen.
Of course, but how do you know it's bad? You know it's bad because
my own sense of morality. We've been over this.
Right, and Hitler's sense of morality has killed the Jews. If we all have our own...
And the collective said that's not right.
Well, actually they didn't. He was democratically elected. It's not true.
Of that country. There's more people in a country, dog.
Yes. Again, lots of countries can make collectively awful and terrible decisions.
Right.
And so when a country does that, and again, just so we're clear...
That also happened in the past,
you are unintentionally minimizing the Holocaust, which is fine, but you're unintentionally...
How?
Because you're saying, oh, it's just one country, it's just one thing. First of all, Hitler took over like all of Europe. It wasn't just one country.
Through military strength, not through democracy.
Right, but he believed he was right.
Right, and the rest of the world said, you're not.
Well, actually, that's not true. At first, Russia
said he was... Why did the U.S. get into World War II?
Time out. At first, Russia said he was right, and then they changed their mind.
Oh, yeah.
Italy said he was right. Imperial Japan said he was right. The whole world was not united against Hitler.
And I put that
until, time out.
Okay.
The whole world was not against Hitler until two original Anglo-Christian nations, Britain and America, decided to tell him to stop.
Where the
so the whole world was...
Nope,
not correct. The entire world was not united against Hitler. In fact, every major power was trying to cozy up to him.
You were talking about the word of the men that were leading those countries, not the people themselves.
Again,
you still ignore the people's word. I know 75 million people voted or whatever, but there's more people than 75 million in America. I'm so sick of this conversation of the majority. I'm talking about the majority with the election, people. 75 is not a majority of 350. That's math.
Mr. Pirate, you brought up the collective, just to be clear.
Yes. And I also said the collective can be wrong.
Again, we go back to the moral standard of
There's
what
no
is wrong.
absolute truth
Yes,
over here.
there
You're
is.
trying to say
Do you
there
believe
is.
that absolutely?
You got me.
Do you believe it absolutely? You said if there's no absolute truth, do you believe it absolutely?
Personally, but there is no absolute on the collective.
Wait, hold on. So you absolutely...
My personal beliefs do not dictate the rest of the world.
Well, hold on. So you absolutely believe that there's no such thing as absolute truth, therefore showing that there is absolute truth.
Okay,
because that's a truth claim.
Thank you, boss.
Yes, what I'm saying is that your philosophy falls apart upon even the slightest cross-examination, which is that, of course, there's absolute truth.
Your only fundamental truth is a book that was written thousands of years ago and translated multiple times. What do you mean?
Actually, my fundamental truth...
Truth can change with knowledge being input.
Okay, truth can change. I'll wrap up in a sec.
Okay, boss.
Truth can change. Can an adult become an infant?
But you sure act like one.
Oh, thank you. That's sharp.
I thought I'd throw that out there. Look,
so
you're talking about semantics of someone else's life. You're talking about semantics of someone else's life where neither of us have a word to say
We will go
about
to the next question. I will close with this on this, and we'll end one more. This is the moral confusion that happens if Christians do not contest in the public square. This right here. Thank you very much.
I'm Christian.
America was truly better when we acknowledged and thanked our Creator, because religion not only provides spiritual guidance, but it also fosters the kind of moral values that create a thriving society. Yes, by embracing faith, we honor God, we honor our Creator, uplift others, and live with purpose. Yes. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time to return to those core values and allow them to guide us in a world that increasingly needs moral clarity, compassion, and unity. Let us live out the teachings of Jesus, acknowledging God with gratitude and love. Let us do that, fostering a society that reflects these timeless principles. To conclude, sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ is profoundly positive endeavor that changes lives, ladies and gentlemen. It promotes love, justice, hope, truth, and aligns with God's will. It provides eternal meaning and deep joy to those who receive it. Ultimately, it stands as the greatest gift to humanity, creating lasting impact in the lives of individuals and entire communities, and reflecting God's heart in everything it touches. So, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to click on the next one, and don't forget to like, to comment, and to subscribe. I will see you again next time. Bye for now.